Thanks, Louise. Thanks, Louise. And I just want to start by saying thanks to Health Campaigns Together for inviting me to speak, but also I think the work that we did together earlier on this year around the absolutely massive demonstration on the 4th of March was a kind of a concrete demonstration about exactly how we should all be working together going forwards. I think that demonstration was an absolutely crucial moment for the campaigns for the NHS. It was the biggest demonstration that on the NHS in history. I think congratulations. I think we have to say congratulations to all of the local groups up and down the country who campaigned so hard to make sure that was absolutely huge. But also, I think the importance of that demonstration, we didn't even realize when we first started to organize that demonstration, the impact and the importance that that demonstration would have. We didn't know that there was going to be a snap general election just a few months after that. But I think that demonstration had an absolutely enormous impact on making sure that the NHS was central to the general election campaign. It exposed the disastrous policies that the Tories and the crisis that the Tories have created within the NHS. And I think following that awful winter crisis that we saw, the worst crisis, winter crisis that we've seen in the NHS in its history, it gave the expression to all of those people who are absolutely distraught about what the situation in the NHS was. It gave all of us the opportunity to express that in a way. And can you imagine if we hadn't organised that demonstration, there would have been no serious opposition on the streets in that way to what that horrendous winter we'd just seen. So I think that was an absolutely crucial moment, and I was very, very pleased that the People's Assembly and Health Campaigns Together worked so closely together around it. But I think the scenes that we saw last year around the patients dying in corridors, the British Red Cross declaring a humanitarian crisis within the NHS, with staff being stretched to their absolute limits, with hospitals not able to cope with the situation. And I think every report now is saying that this winter is going to be a lot worse than last winter's. Now, this is a very, very scary situation for us, I think. When you speak to nurses, when you speak to doctors, when you speak to healthcare workers, that everybody is saying that the NHS is not going to be able to cope with this winter. Already the crisis is worse, or is as bad as it was at the worst point last year. We haven't even entered into the proper winter period yet. That's why I think we absolutely have to think, what are we going to do? That's why our campaigns are absolutely crucial in this moment. There's one very big difference, though, that we've got this time round than we did last winter. This time round, the Tories are in a much, much weaker position, than they've ever been before. Theresa May's disastrous election result, which, like I said, that demonstration, I think, played a very big role in creating for her. But they have now lost their majority entirely after going into election thinking completely arrogantly thinking they were going to get a stonking majority in that election. Well, they lost their majority entirely. They are weaker than they've ever been. They can't even get anything through Parliament at the moment. They are desperate to extend for Parliament to be in recess, because they know that anything that they propose is not going to get through Parliament. Even their ridiculous agreement with the DUP, which, by the way, if you can find £1 billion to give to the DUP, why can't you find £1 billion extra for the NHS and for our schools and for these kind of things? But even their agreement with the DUP is falling apart. They are divided like you've never seen before like we've never seen before within their own party. They're desperate to get rid of Theresa May, but they know that if they got rid of Theresa May, it would likely force another general election, which they would lose. So they're clinging on to power as much as they can with her there. But it seems to me that this situation is on a knife edge. They are about to, any other crisis for them, any other political crisis could be the end of them. Now, I think I'd like to propose this. It looks like we all know that this winter's going to be very, very bad for the NHS. We all know that this budget coming up in just a few weeks' time, the Tories aren't going to give the NHS the money that that's needed for it. They're not giving NHS staff the pay rise they deserve. I mean, okay, they may drop the pay cap, but we know that it's not going to be below, the pay rise will still be below inflation. We know that, as Jonathan Ashworth said in his video, that the NHS is going to have to try and find the money for that within its existing budget. We know that none of this is going to do anything. So I think we need to be thinking very, very carefully about organising the biggest next year. We need the biggest actions on the NHS that this country has ever seen. Now, I think we need to... We're committed in the People's Assembly to continue to work with health campaigns together to make sure that we create the biggest mobilisations that we can. And I would like to propose this, that we go for, we organise another massive demonstration early next year around the anniversary of the demonstration that we organised this time round. I think the mood and the anger in the country right now is absolutely massive. So I'd like to propose that we organise another big demonstration around the anniversary of that demonstration that we organised this year, the 3rd of March being one possible date for that. I'd also like to propose that we don't stop there. Next year is the 70th anniversary of the NHS. I hope that we can organise huge events, but obviously the establishment is going to take on the celebrations around the NHS in whatever way they can. But we know, and the birthday of the NHS will be around early July. We know that they're going to be saying what a fantastic thing the NHS is. The 5th of July, there you go. But we know that they're going to be trying to say what a fantastic thing the NHS is on their terms. Well, we need to say, yes, it is a fantastic thing, but let's go back to the principles of the NHS when it was formed and not what the Tories' vision of the NHS is. So let's try and cut across that narrative as well. So but I hope we don't even have to get there. I hope by summer next year the Tories will be out of office, and I hope if we can organise a big enough demonstration in early next year, it could tip the Tories over the edge, and we could spark another general election and see the back of them. That's what I think we've got to be aiming for, and that's what I think the People's Assembly is very committed to making sure that happens with health campaigns together. So thanks very much for having me. I'll see you on the streets next year.